Thomas entered the house, and his little son Michael ran up to him and asked how many stars were in the sky. He couldn't count them all out. The father promised that as soon as Michael went to school, everything would be explained to him there, but meanwhile he bought Mike a present, so he would not be sad waiting for school. It was an encyclopedia, and the boy was very happy to see this thick book. Thomas and Barbara and their son lived in a small town. It was an ordinary middle-class family. Michael was a very curious child. He was interested in everything, but his parents certainly got tired of his questions. That's why Thomas decided to buy a large encyclopedia for his son, so he could find answers to all his questions. The parents would have loved to answer them, but many of them they just did not know. The next morning, Barbara came to wake up her son to kindergarten. Suddenly she noticed something incomprehensible and sticky on the table. In response to his mother's stern question, Michael replied that he had read what plasticine was made of in an encyclopedia and decided to try making it himself. Unfortunately, Barbara did not appreciate the work of her son and strictly asked him not to do it anymore. When Michael came home from the kindergarten, the sticky lump was not on the table. The mother just threw it away. Of course, Michael was very upset. His parents liked Michael's curiosity, but they didn't like his desire to conduct experiments in the house. As the years went by, the boy grew up, and he had more and more questions. Every night when his parents came home from work, they would find different, as they thought, mischief for their son. The boy was constantly experimenting, and after his experiments, there was dirt and unpleasant smells everywhere. Gradually this curiosity began to bore Thomas and Barbara, and they began to forbid their son to experiment at home. Michael was very sad that his parents did not understand him, and he began to go more often on weekends to his grandfather, who lived out of town. There the boy enjoyed spending time because his grandfather always understood him and explained everything that interested his grandson. It was his grandfather who taught him safety techniques, and thanks to him Michael knew that plastic was better to melt in the open air, and cans of his mother's hairspray could explode. As he grew older, the child's experiments became more complex, and he also had a dream to create something that no one had ever seen or done before. One evening, his parents came home from work and found the vacuum cleaner disassembled into small parts. Thomas and Barbara shouted irritably at their son from the doorstep. Michael tried to explain to the angry parents that he was just making a prototype of a robot vacuum cleaner and was only missing a few parts. But Thomas was very tired of the endless experiments, so he angrily told his son that all this was useless, and he should abandon his bad ideas and think about something serious. Then he kicked the vacuum cleaner apart and ordered to put it back together again. Many more times Michael tried to design something especially out of household items, and he was always hindered by his parents, urging him to get smart and give up his silly design ideas. But Michael was stubborn and confident that he was born to create something useful in this world. As time went on, the boy was already in high school. He spent all his spare time in chemistry classes. He had a unique project that he wanted to present at the upcoming science fair, and he was very proud of it. Meanwhile, his father and mother began to think about Michael's future profession. They were sure that he would not be able to make money from his inventions, because no one needed them. His parents wanted their son to be a lawyer. But Michael was resistant to his parents' entreaties. After all, he was going to be at least a chemist, if not an inventor. In addition, the boy was sure that after the exhibition his parents would believe in him, because he created something very interesting and useful. One evening, after a quarrel about his future profession, Michael grabbed his jacket and ran out of the house to take a walk. But this time his father got so mad at his son's stubbornness that he went into his room and started grabbing everything Michael had on the shelves and stuffing it into trash bags. After collecting everything, he took the bags to the trash can. When Michael returned home and found that all of his work had been thrown away, he was shocked that his family had done this to him. Michael didn't figure things out or fight, he just stopped talking to his parents. And he ended up doing things his own way anyway. 6 months later, the boy enrolled in the university of his choice and left for another city. There he settled in a dormitory and soon met Mary. She was a kind and cheerful girl, and soon she became his best friend. Michael missed his parents, but didn't show it. Every time his mother called, he spoke to her discreetly because he had been hurt too much by his parents. He couldn't forgive them yet. One day, Michael received sad news. His grandfather, who had supported him in everything, had died. This news prompted Michael to take part in a science fair with the same project he had once done. Within a year, he had perfected it. The technology was still raw, but he believed in his idea. At the annual exhibition, it was Michael's project that won first place. 2 months passed after the expo, and he got a call. It was an organization of an international youth association. They were interested in Michael's development and invited him to join them for further sponsorship and improvement of the product. Michael was over the moon, because he had always felt that this project would be successful. He shared his happy news with Mary, and she was thrilled for him. After a short time, Michael gathered all the necessary documents for his project and went to the youth association, where he was received with great hospitality. Michael worked long and hard on his project, and soon his efforts paid off. A prestigious company made him an offer to buy his product, and the sum was $500,000. Michael became successful, and he really wanted to share his success with his parents. Overcoming his resentment and fear, the guy went to his hometown. Yes, his parents never believed in him, but it was time to forgive each other and accept them for who they were. Mary supported him and suggested that they probably loved Michael very much and just wanted to keep him from failing. His parents wanted to keep him out of a bad life. They never wished him harm, they just overprotected him as best they could, because stability was their way of surviving. Michael thanked his girlfriend for her kind words and offered to go with him as his bride. The girl blushed and agreed. She had been in love with Michael for a long time, but she thought he wasn't interested in anything but chemistry. When Thomas and Barbara saw their son, they cried with joy and were very happy. And when they heard of his success, their hearts overflowed with pride in him. Now they began to look at his inventions in a completely different way. Several years went by. Michael created a company with affiliates in several countries. He was insanely happy. He didn't give up on his dream, and despite many difficulties he achieved everything he wanted. But at the same time, he remained kind and was able to reconcile with his family. The main thing was that he loved his family and did what he loved to do.